If you're looking at going a little further afield than just the local smooth waters, which the entry-level boat or the car topper boat allows, then something like this beautifully presented cruise craft 550 Explorer is an ideal choice. It's a locally manufactured boat from a family business that's been producing boats since the 40s, and they certainly know what they're doing. They listen to their customers, which a lot of the great manufacturers do, because it's you, ultimately the buyer, that advises the manufacturers of what you like and what you don't, that gives user friendliness. The more user-friendly a boat, obviously, the more demand there is and appeal. Something like this is awesome for family fishing, going offshore, again with the appropriate safety gear, but excellent inshore bay use. So fishing, skiing, tubing, but ultimately family enjoyment. Let's have a look inside and see the space and the setup that this one provides. This is a 5.5 metre boat, or in the imperial metric, 18 feet. 18 feet or a 5.5 metre boat is something that allows you a lot more scope and diversity in your boating needs. So it can take you across the bay into partially smooth waters, and with the appropriate safety gear, as mentioned before, take you well offshore. This particular boat's from the stable, the cruise craft stable, been around since the 1960s. It's a wonderful vessel with a lot of thought into its design and its build quality. I'm 6'3", and as you can see, the freeboard, which is the amount of space between the floor and my thigh, is rather high. So if you're offshore for the day, the feeling of security is there. You can actually put your toes underneath the side pockets and lock yourself in. So as the boat rocks around, you feel very safe. And also, great idea, added protection of a cockpit grab rail. Great for when the youngies are on board, the kiddies, but also too, if you get a bit of wobbly legs, as I do, sea legs, there's something to hang on to while you're hanging over the side. With the storage of these boats, naturally, we always have a spare tape measure on hand, but it's great to come into the dealerships with already a storage spot in mind at home, and if you can, bring along with you the width of the area that you're looking to store the boat and also the length. We can always trim the motor down. There's a few other little things that we can do, tricks up our sleeve, to help you get the boat into the spot. And no, we don't lower the tyres to make them go flat to reduce its height. It may be a finer point to address, but the Department of Transport in Queensland actually have guidelines on the placement of the registration label on your trailer and also on your hull. And it's vital to make sure you comply with this because it is a finable offence. The registration label needs to be put on the left-hand side of the trailer, somewhere towards the front. So in this location here, this is 100% fine. However, if it was on the rear of the mudguard or on the right-hand side, this is not the location where it needs to be. So it needs to be somewhere in this location on the left-hand side. Again, this might be seen as a minor detail to most, but it's a finable offence, $150 on the spot fine, if your registration characters on the side of the boat are non-compliant. What's compliant? Well, Queensland Transport define as 200mm high characters, not 175, not 150. The height of the characters need to be a minimum of 200 mils. If they can't also be easily read at the distance of 30 metres, they'll also fine you for that. So in this fine, crazy world, it's really important to ensure that your characters are a minimum of 200 mil high, and if one's damaged or broken, really important to fix it straight away, because it's something that they will chase you down on. One of the great things about the boating industry is the diversity in range and style of boats. If bling is your thing, you couldn't care about fish other than they swim in water, something like this might float your boat. This particular style of boat is known as a bow rider, and naturally it means the bow is somewhere that people can safely and legally sit up the front of the boat. Rather than having a deck up there, which sort of impedes into the space of the boat, this boat's been strengthened in a way that there is no deck. You can walk all the way through to the bow to open up the boat, so you get pure enjoyment out of the whole length of the vessel. I like some of the bow rider styles myself because they're easy to lay the anchor over the front and also retrieve. Generally it's my job.
Encouraging other people to experience boating. What are some of the initiatives that industry and, you know, from your feedback, what are some of the ways people come to boating that have been successful?
We've had a recent journey down to the Jumpin' Pin where our family took one of our small boats and another friend took their family boat. And two families that we also know that would like to go boating don't have boats. So we were fortunate enough to put 4 boats on the water for that day, and we went down to a lovely place, all the bedrooms down the Pin, and we had the 4 families, 10 children, between having a picnic and a swim and pumping for some yappies. And the 2 families that haven't been boating before had never experienced anything like that, how accessible it was. And the biggest thing that came out of one of those families was the change in background noise. Because there's no traffic. There's no aeroplanes going over you. There's no neighbours' fences, and there's no motor mowers. There's a whole change in background noise, and they actually found that one of the most fascinating things of their day out. So,
wow. Yeah. Might convert some.
Yeah, so we find try before you buy, come out and enjoy a day on the water, and that gets you in because it's affordable.
I think also, Jenny, there's lots of safe options. I mean, just go down to a marina or down to like the Manly Harbour Precinct or the Scarborough Harbour Precinct, and just go and have a look around. Down at Sanctuary Cove, there's lots of places that you can go and just sit down and have a meal and just explore the area and just see what's around. Get used to the environment.
Boat shows are great.
Boat shows as well.
Into the industry.
Boat shows are great places to go to get information and see what's available.
But you can do hands-on too.
Hands-on.
Places like Sanctuary Cove,
That's
you can
right.
actually jump in a boat, can't you?
And I think too, depending on where you go and where you buy your boat and those sorts of things, we've all got so much experience and we're so happy to share it and help and those sorts of things. So depending on where you go and where you buy your boat and things, I'm seeing more and more people in their 40s and 50s that have really wanted to do it but haven't had a chance. They've been busy working, having a family, those sorts of things. And now they're a little nervous because all of a sudden they're 40 years old, they don't want to look silly.
They think if you can't name the different boat parts that you can't join in.
I know, but we're all there to hold your hand and make sure you're safe, and that's a really important.
Some boats are easier to park than cars these days. With
absolutely, absolutely, and some of the bigger ones are even easier.
Welcome to the Haynes Group. I'm John Haynes, the CEO of the Haynes Group. We're a Brisbane-based company, have been in Brisbane for 50 years, a 50-year-old boat building company. Have been in Brisbane 50 years, will be in Brisbane hopefully for another 50 years. You're at our Wakehole premises at the moment, and we'd like to take you for a bit of a tour around the factory, and I'll introduce you to Martin, who is our marketing manager, who will gladly show you around what we do here at the Haynes Group.
So this is the area where Suzuki technicians get trained. We run training schools many times through the year. Dealers will come to us from Australia, New Zealand, all over the South Pacific to be trained by our experts and technicians here. So we have a classroom next door where all the theory is put together, and once people are done in the classroom, they actually come into this area here where they can actually use all of the tools and be hands-on, learning and experiencing what's new with the engines, any new models that have been released by Suzuki, or even just learning the ins and outs and a better way to do things in terms of servicing the outboards. It's one of the differences by going to an established Suzuki dealer. You can be sure that the technicians there have actually been trained by us in this facility. We use prefix vinyl, and prefix vinyl is probably one of the best vinyls that you can get in terms of upholstery for boats. And the prefix vinyl, it's tested with a stainless steel brush which rubs over the surface to test how tough it is before it will actually rub through. And most marine vinyls will actually rub through after 6,000 rubs of the brush going backwards and forwards, whereas the prefix vinyls will actually, it takes 60,000 rubs, so it's 10 times more. What we do, with every new boat that comes in, we know exactly what wood needs to be in there, and there's obviously lots of different pieces, obviously for the transom and for the stringers and really, as I said, to reinforce all those different areas and make it incredibly strong. We have it all stored on a computer which actually feeds into this 3-axis router, and the router will actually automatically cut out the plywood for each of the boats. So we put in one big sheet and the router does all the hard work, if you like. There's a lot of honour goes into the old boat builders as well. There's a lot of old families, and if someone has realised something has been, we call it flopped. If something has been flopped, the mould will actually generally be crushed by the owner of it. They'll run a forklift over it and destroy it. It's an honour thing. This is the traditional open moulded process. It starts as just an open mould, then we build up the layers. We use several different layers of fiberglass. Different types as well. We have a knitted fabric where all the fiberglass is sewn together. We have your traditional chop strand. We have just layers of matting as well, which are obviously rolled on. You can see the guys in the background doing that. And then you can either have a liner inside of the hull, which is a fiberglass liner. So imagine this upside down but put in the hull, which gives you all the flooring and the space for tanks and everything. Or like this boat, you can have the inside of the boat built up with wood. So this is the gel coat actually. So you can see that this boat's been sprayed. This is before any of the fiberglass has gone in. So you can see the strakes in the design, and that channels the water. It gives it a good ride. And this is the example of how a mould looks before it's sprayed with gel coat. It's always like a contrasting colour, like a red or a green or something like that. And then it's sprayed with whatever colour. So this is obviously white. And that's the actual finish that you will have in the boat. So it's all been, the wood is put in place to give it the structure. It's then fiberglass to give it all the resistance, obviously, and give it the finish. And then flow coated. This one is actually, this is one fiberglass piece. So it goes inside, we call it a nexus liner. And that has certain benefits. Obviously, one piece, it's got the same benefits as it's extremely strong. You can also do more intricate fixings and things like that.
Of sticking our head over the side of the boat while it was running to see what was happening to the water down on the hull, and yeah, many time we had an earful of water, and quite often an earful of hyacinth as well. The business was started by my late brother John back in the early 60s. He started into fiberglass as a pastime, and I was still at school at the time, and I joined him when I left school. From that point, we eventually purchased the rights to produce the boats off QPS, and then went into a steep learning curve, trying to find out what made boats tick.
Coming up next.
Peel Island.
Peel Island? Are we down at the boat club now?
Yes.
What are we going to do down here? We're going to launch the boat?